Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. So two things I want to showcase today is one, the final, I guess, mechanical portion of this rifle. I'm going to be changing the muzzle device out still. They're just out of stock right now. But got the actual BCG that's going to live in this gun. I am slowly swapping over bolt carrier groups as they wear out to Sons of Liberty. Main reason being these things get rather pricey once you start wearing them out. And Sons of Liberty Gunworks warranties wear and tear on parts. So bolt breaks, I can swap my spare into the gun, send the broken one off to them, and I'll get a brand new one from them free of charge. So this particular one that I've got here is the Scalper. So it's got the little Indian head of the night vision on the face of it. Really cool thing about this particular one versus the Rebellious Stripes one that I have in my 14.5-inch gun that I have noticed is this one comes with aux fasteners for the gas key in the top, so it's got the knurled fasteners in the top. Thought that was a pretty neat, interesting tidbit of a difference that they have there. This one is a little bit more expensive than the Rebellious Stripes one. I'm guessing that there are little things like that in it that are different. Other than that, it comes with the same Springco parts that I put in bolts anyways whenever I get them. The Springco enhanced extractor springs, the 5-coil springs got a little bit more oomph to it, and then the enhanced power ejector string, again, get the brass out of the chamber a little bit better. So the second thing is, one of the issues I was having with this upper before is I think it was over buffered. I still want to be able to use the Springco blue in the back, but I have dropped all the way down to a carbine buffer. These FBI uppers are on the undergassed side, in my opinion. I did look it up, and it says that it is a .070 port that these come with. The normal recommended that I feel for 11.5 should be 0.71, so it shouldn't have been that much undergassed, but the port could be on the smaller side here of the spec for whatever Centurion does for their guns. So worth noting, my particular example here is on the more conservative side with gassing. So I've got some ammunition here that it wasn't locking to the rear with before with the H2 buffer that I've had in it, so I've dropped down one buffer weight unsuppressed, and I'm just going to fire a couple of one-shot drills through it to see how it performs. I got one round in the magazine. I'll fire, see if it locks to the rear, and then I'll just basically run through what I've got left in this magazine here for that. This is PMC bronze ammunition. So lock into the rear. Go ahead, put first round in the chamber. Close that magazine back out. Very conservatively gassed. It's insane. It really does shoot flat, and it feels nice. But just something you got to keep in mind whenever you receive that is the overall reliability of the system. Like with the one in there, it does feel sluggish still, but it is locked into the rear. And it is colder today, so we're looking at, it's about 50 degrees out right now. It rained. So lower end of the weather, locked into the rear with very underpowered ammo. Oh, you can see there, that one didn't lock to the rear. Yep, so again, one of the trade-offs with these things being gas like this, you can run into problems like this with these guns. See, that one did lock to the rear. It's worth noting that it does cycle still. It cycled before. Let's go ahead and polish this magazine off. Locks to the rear with that. So I did have one failure to lock to the rear. So still, guys, So I don't like chasing injection patterns. It would seem to me as if Centurion as a company has listened to a base of shooters for this particular setup that don't shoot enough in an inclement weather. This thing, it does note suppressed, it does run 100%. Unsuppressed with weaker ammunition, it does still struggle a bit running. I did have one failure to lock to the rear, where normally with PMC bronze with the other buffer, none of them would lock to the rear. So going down one setting in buffer, it would work. Now, in Centurion's defense, I do believe that they have set this thing up to run with a standard carbine spring and an H2 buffer. The Blue Spring Co. in and of itself adds a facet of reliability that, in my opinion, is paramount to a reliable fighting rifle, being that that spring provides enough forward momentum that once this gun gets used and run really hard in inclement weather, particularly on days where it's wet, you're muddy, getting the gun down towards the ground where it's blowing water and dust and dirt up into the chamber, or you're just getting a lot of carbon buildup from the gun running suppressed, the Spring Co. is going to provide you with enough oomph to fight through those adverse conditions where time and time again I have seen standard springs fail. Very disheartening, but if Centurion does watch this, open your ports up a few thousandths of an inch. Go to 0.071, 0.72. Just open that port up a little bit. The guns don't recoil hard. They just don't. Even suppress this thing were to be 100%, it doesn't recoil hard. 5.56 isn't that bad of a gun to shoot. That being said, guys, it is concerning, it is disheartening with this upper receiver, because it is a really well built upper. I've got premium parts in this thing. I've got a Sons of Liberty Gunworks scalper bolt carrier group. And then other than that, it's a Radiant Raptor charging handle, Blue Spring Co. spring, and a BCM standard carbine buffer. And as you can see, I did have one failure to lock to the rear with it. I would venture to say that, and this gun's perfectly clean right now, I would venture to say that once this thing gets under a load and it gets really heavy and dirty, unsuppressed, you will start to notice a significant amount of malfunctions. And then on the flip side, if you put the recommended spring that Centurion has in here with a standard carbine spring, again, I have seen it, it's with 100% accuracy it happens. Once you get guys out here and they start running their guns hard and using these for what they're intended as a fighting rifle, they're going to have problems. They just do. But I reported the results, guys. Again, I have nothing to gain or lose from telling you guys this information with this particular upper receiver. Roscoe doesn't do this. My Roscoe barrels, they don't do this. But other than that, guys, companies need to stop following what customers who don't shoot enough recommend. Stop chasing ejection patterns. It is going to fuck up your rifle. Case in point. Now, guys, I do want to add that this gun will run and cycle weaker powered ammunition in its current state. This is again PMC bronze. If you were running full powered ammunition, you will probably never run into a scenario where this gun is ever going to hiccup, even with the gun being unsuppressed. It'll probably run with this setup with full power M193 or the 5.56 Monarch, which is got even more oomph than M193. But a lot of your civilian shooters, they're running the weaker powered stuff. And in our kind of situation where we're not getting funding from the military to get NATO spec high power ammunition, set your guns up to run everything, suppressed and unsuppressed. Something happens to your suppressor and you set up your gun to run specifically suppressed, you are going to set yourself up for failure. Because the event that WRL happens, something happens, the balloon goes up and you got to grab this and you got to fight, and your suppressor gets damaged for whatever reason and you can no longer run it. Now you've got an expensive paperweight that is a malfunction machine. So it is worth noting, it's on the cusp. It's right there. Open the port up a little bit. It will run better. So I got 30 rounds here. Does still work, but just worth noting, guys, don't try and chase ejection patterns with your guns. The setup that I've got We have run the absolute dog shit out of these things, and they just work. They just do. I like this upper a lot. I'm going to be running it suppressed a lot. I'm probably going to end up opening up this gas port. You, the end user, you may not have the ability to do that yourself. Centurion needs to do it from the factory. Open your gas ports up. Stop listening to people that don't shoot their guns enough. And just to show the difference, this is significantly hotter ammunition. So I've got one round in the chamber. I'm going to try and lock the bolt to the rear, just kind of show, lock the bolt to the rear. And then I've got about a half magazine's worth of the remaining full power stuff. This is not Federal M193 or Winchester M193. This is actually the Monarch brand, so it's the Academy brand. 5.56, not the 223 Mark stuff. There is a significant difference in pressures and velocities with those two. I've chronoed them both. Out of a 14.5, this ammunition is pushing about a little over 3,000 feet per second out of a 14.5-inch gun, whereas the 223 variant is pushing about 2,850 to 2,900. So this stuff is a lot hotter than what you're going to get out of that stuff. So I'm going to do a reload drill with this. I'll fire the one. If it locks to the rear, I'll change it out. A lot more oomph to this ammunition. It's got a lot more ass to it. Let's go ahead and finish this magazine out. This ammunition is significantly hotter. You can feel the difference in it. Again, with this particular ammo, you won't run into problems, I don't think, even shooting unsuppressed. But, just want to reiterate, you want your gun to run everything. You're a civilian. You don't have military funding. You get what you can get your hands on. Situation where shit goes down, you can't get ammunition anymore. What's out there is what you're stuck with. You're not guaranteed to be able to get Federal M193 or NATO's Lake City spec M193 ammunition. You might run across some steel case. You might run across some PMC bronze, which is an extremely popular ammunition. It's that a lot of people stock up on and a lot of people run. It's really good training ammo too, because in and of itself, the ammo, because of how much less pressure that it has, it puts less wear on the parts of your gun. You're going to last longer if you're training with that stuff. It is softer on recoil, so that's a trade-off that you're going to get, where you might be able to argue that you're going to create training scars, but there again, still, 5.56 does not recoil that hard. And while I do notice the difference between the PMC stuff and the full power Monarch stuff, it's not enough to really matter. I have no problem controlling this gun, keeping it on target from this distance. So take that for what you will, guys. Just my 2 cents. I'm going to end up opening up this gas port. It's just the way it is. I'll probably end up opening it to about a 0.72 from the 0.70 that it is. That extra 2,000 is going to let significantly more gas through the system, and it will significantly increase reliability, and I will probably end up being able to run an H2 and blue sprinkle in this, and it will be more reliable than as it sits right now. Again, with the setup, I want to just go ahead and hash that with the setup, Centurion does say to run a standard spring, but the standard spring is taking away a facet of reliability that you're going to gain from the blue sprinkle with that extra 4 momentum. But if you guys have any questions, drop them down in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I appreciate y'all watching.